Hi, this is Esterina, and today we're going to be going through mountain pose. Mountain pose is the foundational pose of all poses. So we're just going to spend a few minutes really sinking in and looking at exactly how to do the pose. It's something we kind of do in a yoga class and stand there for just a couple of breaths, but it's really the pose that when you're in other poses or asanas is the way you should be standing. I'll explain. So first let's get in the pose properly, and then I'll describe how it is that it applies to the rest of the poses. Mountain pose, it's also called Tadasana, that's its Sanskrit term. So we're going to start with the base and work our way up as I describe what we're doing. The feet are about hip distance apart, so just play with that for a second. Feel where that is for you. Maybe because of your build or an injury or anything else, your feet want to go out a little bit more and a little bit more. And before you completely decide that, we want to make sure that the outsides of the feet are parallel with the outsides of the mat. So it feels a little weird because you're sort of bringing the toes in a little bit, maybe a little bit of bow-leggedness, but we want to make sure that everything is completely squared. So our hip points are squared, the sides of our feet are squared. The middle toe is pointing toward the front of the mat. And the foot is firmly planted, but you should be able to, if it's something you can do anyway, lift all 10 toes and lay them down gently, or pick them up and lay them down. And if you think about the four corners of your feet, I'm going to lift up my foot, you don't have to. 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to make sure that they're all sort of plugged in to the earth, rooted down, nice and strong. So now that we have the feet set, we're going to work our way up. And the knees, they're going to be soft. We don't want to engage them or pull them in. They're going to be nice and soft. And then this is the part that confuses a lot of people. We say engage the thighs. So I'm going to talk about the thighs and the pelvis area just for a moment. When we say engage the thighs, it's sort of the same thing as bringing the pelvis in. So a lot of us stand like this, and there's a little bit of a space at our back. If we just tilt the pelvis up a little bit, that space disappears, and if we were going to be against a wall, this lower back would be closer to the wall. And once you do that and you pull the pelvis forward, you'll feel how you sort of engage the thighs. And if you have your feet parallel to the side of the mat, the thighs sort of internally rotate in just a bit. So sometimes you'll hear the cue, internally rotate the thighs. It also kind of happens naturally when you engage the pelvis. Do that forward tilt and not quite tuck in or hold the belly like you would to suck in your stomach when you're strutting around the beach or anything, but more or less to just kind of engage it, not holding, an engagement. Now that the whole lower part of the body is nice and steady, let's think about the upper part. The shoulders are up, out, and away from the ears. They're stacked over the hips. They're nice and soft. Arms are out to the sides. Fingers are open softly. Palms are open. Everything is hanging naturally. As we work our way up a little bit higher, the back of the neck is aligned right up above the spine. So think about one strong line from the tailbone all the way up, because you're nice and tucked up here. And when you do that, you'll actually feel that your chin gets tucked a little, or you can tuck the chin and it sort of helps to align the spine. And then the alignment of the head is where the crown is sort of rising up toward the sky or the ceiling or wherever you're standing. And what we want to be doing is rooting down with the feet and rising up with the head. Everything is softly engaged. And we just stand there and breathe. We feel that connection to the earth. And for the other 6 weeks, when I go through some other poses, I will definitely talk about how Tadasana or mountain pose is part of every other pose. But if you think about it, if you are familiar with yoga, you'll understand what I'm saying. And if you're not, you'll understand it in a couple of weeks. But just think about that core engagement, the feet to the side. When you're doing other things, like maybe you're inhaling up nice and high, you want to keep that alignment. When you're sitting, you want to keep that same kind of alignment. The hip points facing forward, the tummy slightly tucked or engaged. And you want to hold it no matter what you do. It doesn't have to be like a stiff mat or a stiff robot or anything. You want to constantly come back to that pose, whether you're in table, down dog, warrior, whatever it is. We want to keep those key elements that are on the ground in that way as much as possible. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, you can call, text, or email me and ask any questions as much as you'd like. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.